Hi, Bob.
Good morning or good afternoon. I know what's going on. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Sorry. Okay, I gotta put him outside. Go outside. Sorry, my kids are moving all around the yard, so the dogs think it's free game. So sorry about that. Hi, guys. Tom joined us, I think. Yep. Hi, Tom. How are you?
It's fine, thank you.
We're gonna give everybody a couple minutes to get here. Exactly how many we're gonna have, because I know Lynn and Ann can't join us. That I know. No, was it Lynn or Julie? Actually, it might have been Julie. Hold on, I'm checking my email.
I think it was Lisa too.
Yep, Julie couldn't do it. She said she might not be able to make it. And she sent me her note. So I have Julie's notes and I have Julie's notes and I have Ann's notes. So we do have those two, so we can look at those as well. Does this show me who is not logged in yet? No, probably not. All right, we'll give everybody like 5 minutes and then we'll get started. Sound like a plan, guys?
Sounds good
Okay.
to me anyway.
Sounds good to me too. I don't want to be waiting all night. I know some might join in a little bit late too. But we need to get through. So I guess the main thing we want to do is try to get through the rest of the goals and address those. And in that, wherever people see terminology issues, we're going to document, note it, and then go forward from there so that they'll have that, because we need to finish up the goals in order to get to the next step. If I understand that correctly, am I correct in that?
Yeah, right now the consultants are basically on hold until we can get done this aspect of things. And then also I'm still putting together everybody's individual comments and getting them over to Emily. She has a lot of them, so they've already taken care of most of them because you guys have been religious, which has helped me out a lot to copy Emily on your comments. But I'm still pulling the master spreadsheet together to help them out. So they don't, and it's not that they don't have anything to do, but they don't want to generate drafts of something to come out to the group or something, and then all of a sudden there are other comments that come in the door, and then they're between a rock and a hard place because maybe they're good comments or something along those lines.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just making sure everybody's coming in. So
Oh, all right. Yep, it looks like Lynn is here. Okay. Hi, Lynn.
I want to, before you really get going, I do want to share my screen to make sure that I can call up the draft vision and goal. Do you guys want to be looking at the vision and goals like the last meeting or not? You do? Okay. I just want to make sure I can do it because I haven't done this before in a double screen situation. So I want to make sure that you can see it. So.
Yeah, I had mine up too. I didn't know if I was going to need to share it so we could look at it, but if you can, that works.
Yeah, well, if you've got it, you can do that too. But I just, so let's see, I don't have it up yet, so I got to open it. So bear with me.
Let me see if I can get mine to share.
I'm just trying to open up the file, that's all. Everything is buried in here. Let's see.
If I share my screen, it'll stop theirs from sharing theirs. So if you share yours, I can't share mine. So, which is fine if, as long as we have it up.
You could both actually share your screen simultaneously,
Yeah,
just as an FYI.
Oh, I can? It told me
Yeah,
if
I
I did
haven't-
it,
I
it
don't-
would stop his.
yeah, I haven't now, well, I have to, I don't know if it's turned on or not, Cody, but can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see you perfectly.
See me or
Well,
the,
the screen, I'm sorry, the screen, your screen.
can
I
you
can
see
see
the
both
vision
of
and go, can you see the vision and goals?
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
Mm.
Hey, Herb, before we move on, I had a quick email exchange with Emily today, and she's not looking at any of the inputs until they come from you.
yep,
So, well, they've been shared with her. I think she's waiting on you for some of the recent ones, like the ones I sent.
yep. She and I chatted yesterday, so, yep, so I've got that. That's
Okay,
understood. Yeah, the staff has been looking at stuff. They're just not preparing stuff at this point until they get the rest of the comments in that consolidated format. So I know the hook is in my back.
yep.
Thank you.
All right, I'm just looking at whose notes do I have in front of me? I have Julie's notes in front of me. I just want to make sure I get to where we're at. If I remember correctly, and I will go back in the meeting minutes and check, I believe that we had done the first 5 goals. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we got through the
Through
economic,
land
pros-
use?
we got through
Trans-
economic prosperity and sustainability. So I think
Okay,
were-
we did make it through that one. Okay,
I think so. Did we? And I think we quit at the beginning of housing. Tell me if I'm
Okay.
wrong.
I'm gonna go back. She did send the meeting minutes. I do have them here somewhere, so let me look. This is Julie's paper. I don't want to touch Julie's. This
Can
is,
you roll back up to 3, goal number 3?
do we still have questions on goal number
No.
3?
I'm good. Yeah, she corrected it.
Okay,
Oh, no, she did not.
No, this
Roads
is
are safe,
right.
roadways are safe.
Right. This is exactly what you received right before your last meeting.
So are we gonna make changes to this?
We will. I'm not aware of a revised goal and policy sheet that she sent out. So I'm just going from where we left off last time. She knows that she's got to correct that.
yeah, so, and those are in our notes that are going to her, and you, we did leave off at housing to the best of my,
Yeah.
to the best that I can see here. So I do believe we are on housing. Did anybody, before we dig into housing, did anybody have any other things that they would like to add to goal 1 through 8?
Sorry, I'm jumping around.
I just want to make sure before we move to the next section that you guys didn't have anything else you wanted added or to discuss quickly.
I'm good.
I think I'm good.
Okay, All right.
Sherry, you have to learn to say, hearing none, I'm moving forward.
yes, I do, actually, you're correct. I'm so informal. When we do these meetings at work and I run them, I'm just so informal. I'm just like, okay, nobody's got questions. Next topic. What are we doing?
Yep. You got to slave drive them tonight, so.
All right, I'm gonna try. I'm not really good at that, guys. So keep me on track. All right, so we're gonna look at housing. So basically, the vision statement for housing says Coventry offers a diverse housing stock to serve the needs of its citizens regardless of its age, ability, and income. Future development balances the needs for increased housing, preservation of natural areas, resources, desired for community and understanding of climate change impacts and resiliency. Do we want to talk about the vision statement? Anything that you guys see in there that you don't like the way it's worded? Anything you want changed in that statement itself? I'm going to look.
I'm
here.
thinking about something about the word understanding, but I'm not sure. I think I'd want a stronger word maybe. But I'm
right.
thinking on it. So Bob, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, my only comment is right up before that. We've got natural areas resources, which reads a little funny. I would think it would be either natural resource areas or just natural resources.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, we'll highlight this. And we will change that wording.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree, probably just natural resource areas. Is that, I'm gonna ask Lynn too, knowing your background.
Yeah, no, definitely just say preservation of natural resources.
Yep,
Uh,
okay. And this is being recorded so that Emily will
Okay.
hear what you're saying.
Oh, all right, so I don't have to. Right, why is my Adobe not working today? All right, so then I don't have to mark this one up. All right, so we could definitely look into the wording on that. I agree. It does sound a little funky.
So I'm thinking with respect to the statement desire for community and understanding of climate change impacts and resiliency. I'm thinking that the vision statement should say something more about that the development actually accounts for climate change. So future development actually accounts for climate change impacts and is resilient. And so not just that we have an understanding of it, but the future development actually implements techniques to become resilient. And
So the desire for the community's addressing of climate change impacts and resiliency and its accountability. Or I know what you're trying to do.
I think so. I'm not, that's the other thing I'm not clear on, right? So desire for community, should there be a comma after that? So that's a single thing, right? So future development balances the need for housing, preservation of natural resources, desire for community, and
And accountability toward climate
accountability.
change.
Yeah,
Okay.
some word that's more of an action-oriented word than just
Yeah.
understanding.
Yep.
Then, Lynn, the first time was better. Now, and hopefully, but the good thing we captured it on the recording, but
Yeah.
you're struggling, but I think the first time was almost perfect, if it wasn't perfect.
And now I can't remember what I said.
At least we're recording it, so it's on there, so we could grab that again.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So for Emily's purpose, she'll ignore everything that we just said for the last 2 minutes and listen to what Lynn just said on the first thing. So.
Yep, on
But
the
only
first
if
one.
only if it's agreeable to
Uh,
by everybody else, right?
Yeah,
That-
Bob has his hands up when you get a second. So.
Oh, that's an oldie.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to move my screen so I can actually see you guys now. Because I blocked you, sorry. All right,
Can we, for goal 10, can we just eliminate wanting to move to Coventry? It should just be individuals and families in Coventry have a variety of housing choices to fit their unique needs, et cetera.
Agreed.
great.
Yeah, because we also want to keep the people that are here.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm watching them move out.
Uh,
in goal 9, do we want to include that they have access to recreation and open space, or is that included in the recreation open space
Oh,
part? I don't want to make the goals too redundant,
Right.
but we want to make sure that residents can get to places for recreation and open space.
So
So
goal
when-
19 addresses, goal 19, if you look at it, improve access to Coventry's open spaces and outdoor.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be redundant then, so never mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, it's a good goal, though. Yeah, we definitely want it.
And we're stressing affordability in both 9 and 11. Is that a little redundant?
11 is a little bit different because that's specific to the state law that requires us to address affordable housing. So I think it's good for the plan to have that in there because one, I think the state, when they do its review of this, are going to be looking for that language. Similar to goal 9, but goal 9 is a little bit different because it's talking about the sort of the housing itself. It's not just providing housing that's affordable, but you want to make sure that it's safe and sanitary, but typically also this location to job centers and services within growth areas. I think that's important as well. Both of those are kind of in any plan I've ever dealt with in 35 years, those two goals are in every single plan that I've dealt with.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to say it in that way. I'm just,
No.
that's usually sort of that similar language that a state review entity is going to be looking for.
But you just
Isn't
mentioned
public-
access to services. Do we also want to have goal of services somehow mentioned in goal 9?
That'd be good. Yeah, it could be wrapped in with public transit. So it's public transit and other necessary services. Is that?
Are public services? Would it be public services or necessary?
I think it's necessary to, well, I'm getting it necessary because there are a lot of services that go beyond public. They might be nonprofit, they might be for private,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they offer the social service type stuff that people might want, besides just an infrastructure-based thing.
Okay.
Isn't public transit dealt with in the transportation section? Why is it here as well?
Usually affordable housing, oftentimes you want to make sure public transit is available to folks that reside with affordable housing, because if you can provide that public transit aspect of things, you might be able to net increase their income so they're not paying for transportation costs of a vehicle or whatever. Or if they can't afford a vehicle, typically public transit is linked with affordable housing.
So using that philosophy, do we want to put public transit in goal 11? Such that, the low to moderate income housing would also have access to, cost reduction measures such as, public transportation.
Yep, I know what you're saying now.
And that way you don't end up with a condo complex somewhere out in the woods where there's never going to be public transportation.
Very true.
Good luck, Bob. Yeah.
But, you start now and look at,
Right.
you can point back.
Yep, I got you. No, but I think the theory of methods or measures, as you say, that are directly correlated with income should be able to factor in there, so that even if their housing's a little bit more expensive, if they got something else that can offset that a little bit,
Mhm.
they can still deal with affordability.
Understood.
Yeah, great. That's a great one.
So just so we get Julie, so I'm looking at Julie's comments here, and she does have some for housing. What she wrote was, for housing, she said, Coventry has a municipal, a quasi municipality, duly authorized affordable housing provider, the Coventry Housing Authority. And then she says her little bullets are, does reference need to be made in the comp plan to the town's state mandated affordable housing production plan? She also asked, do these goals and objectives become part or referenced in this section of the comp plan? And an action should be to meet with the town of Coventry for identification of potential locations for affordable housing based on town-owned vacant properties. Those were her comments.
Those are all awesome stuff. They seem to be hit a little bit more into the implementation side of things. Like the,
Agreed.
we definitely need to update the our affordable housing study, whatever it's called, she referenced it there. That definitely requires update, but that would be sort of the overall document that would define what we have, what we need, and kind of the theory on how to get there.
Okay.
I think it's the production study or whatever, it's that production document she cited. That's one of those sorts of things to me that would fall under as either a key implementing action or another policy for decision making under specifically goal 11. It can fit under the others, but that I see that a little bit more implementation than goal or objective.
Okay. Okay.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm kind of babbling a lot tonight.
No, these do seem like they're actions. The only one that I was not sure of where it should go into was the reference being whether or not we should make reference to the on state mandated affordable housing production plan. Didn't know if that needed to be mentioned, and I wasn't sure about the Coventry Housing Authority piece, how that would play into it, if we needed to add that into the statement anywhere or not. So that was my only thought on that when I read it.
Yep. The Housing Authority plays a great part in the town of Coventry, especially as what they call a monitoring agent for developers that come in with affordable housing projects. They're usually the entity that has to ensure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. The 10% is the mandate, and our production plan or study is supposed to show how we're going to get to that 10%.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. So that actually the town state mandated affordable housing production plan would be the plan on how you're getting there. So that would actually go under an action step under our goal 11.
I think so. I mean, I don't want to belittle what she's saying because she's hitting the nail right on the head in terms of stuff. But if you felt more comfortable to add another goal in there that talked about the production plan, sort of like a goal 11A, a goal 11B, those sort of go hand in hand with one another.
Okay.
Or we can just leave it and Emily and I can chat about it afterward. And if we need to bring Julie in, we can do that to see. Julie's the expert. Yeah.
I was just going to say, Julie's the housing expert. I think we
Right.
should bounce that off of her. I mean, the rest of you guys think, I mean, it's definitely worth noting, I think. But I'm just not sure if it needs to be another goal or if it's underneath that original goal.
Yeah, I would leave it to you guys as the experts in the housing as to where it fits. I don't know enough about it to really feel comfortable making a recommendation. I mean, it certainly could be a goal 12 or 11A or B, but it sounds like it also could be something like policy, utilize the production plan to,
Yep.
achieve goal
Yeah.
11. So I'll defer to the experts.
So why don't we leave it that we'll suggest that, that Emily be in touch with Julie over this for whether it should be at the goal level or not under, like, not trying to diminutize it, but more into the implementation, the policy side of things.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Right. And if I get to Julie first, I'll talk to her too.
Okay. And then I'm just checking to make sure I don't see in the notes that Anne provided, she have provided them to you, or her, and to Emily. I do not see anything about housing, the housing goal in here, so I don't see anything specific she wrote in regards to that.
So sorry, is that a question of Julie's?
Yeah, it's kind of, this was, for Ann Dixon. She had sent over her notes, but I don't see any to the housing. She didn't send anything to you that said anything about housing, did she? I guess I am asking you a question.
I'm sorry, I was writing. So, I'm looking for, stuff right now.
Yeah, I don't want to discredit. I want to make sure that everybody gets, their due say.
No, it looked like, no, there was, Anne didn't offer stuff on housing other than her generic questions that she asked in terms of like the terminology that we use, such as villages and all that.
Yes, yep. Okay, that's all I saw too. All right, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does anybody else have any other comments or thoughts about the goals, anything they think needs to be added that we didn't address?
No,
Okay.
No? Okay, then hearing none, we're gonna move forward. Hey, I did
There you
it.
go.
All right, we're gonna go to community services and facilities. So the vision statement is Coventry supports the wellness and residency for all members of the community. The town is a model of good governance, known for guys, I have a problem with
Objectivity.
this whole statement. I'm sorry. All right, let me go back. Known for objectively, consistently, and transparently in decision-making. Town department leaders thoughtfully and transparently plan for the current and future allocation of financial and staff resources to achieve town goals. I don't agree with that statement, but I believe that it is a needed statement. I don't think that it's as transparent as people say it could be. I don't think the process is easy.
Well, no, keep in mind that, remember, we're talking about a vision. So we're thinking forward. It may not be occurring now or what have you, but the vision is that the town would be this.
Yes, I definitely agree, but the problem, I think we definitely would have to look at the wording on that. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but I don't think it should say is. I definitely think here we should be using shall and shall be going forward, because it's not something that's currently happening. And I think people would read that and be like, yeah, well, that's not how it works here.
Yeah, and I think, and as you all recall, we discussed the sort of the uniform language that Emily was going to work on with regard to each of the vision statements to make sure that it would be understood that it's a vision statement looking forward, whether that's a shall type of language or another form of grammatical change. I think we all understood that at the last meeting.
Yeah, I think we do, but I'm just
Yep.
going on record saying
Okay,
we
just
definitely want to look
making
at that
sure.
wording.
Okay.
Anybody else with that? On that statement?
I saw something that, maybe it was during the meeting, that she put together that, replaced vision statement with some other phrase that makes it more clear that it is a vision right from the get-go. I can't remember what the wording was, but
Okay,
yeah. I would agree that it needs to, she needs to follow whatever the semantics are that she uses in the others to make sure that this, it's consistently, this is what we hope to be, not what we are.
Yep, exactly. Agreed. Anybody got anything to add to the statement or?
One, the town department leaders. I mean, what we're missing in that statement is anything about the town manager. And I'm wondering if maybe we should say something about the town department leaders are accountable to the town manager for thoughtfully and transparently planning. So that we add some accountability. Because that's one of my big gripes in this town. Nobody's accountable for anything.
What if
Agreed.
we just had something to the effect of the town's administration thoughtfully and transparently plans for current and future allocation of financial and staff resources.
We can do that, but like I said, let's make them accountable and put the town manager somewhere in the mix so that
Yep.
a chain of command and some accountability.
Yeah, the town administration, including the manager.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
The only other thing I'd like to add in here is that is the issue of diversity. I'm not used to doing this because I'm an old fart now, but something in that might mention in here that were kind of I don't want to use buzzwords that are going to piss people off politically or whatever, but that we're a welcoming community besides being transparent and all that. And I think that, I mean, I have to kind of leave that to Emily and from that standpoint, but we need to do a better job of having diversity included in the comp plan, just like we have to do the sustainability and the dealing with, the greenhouse effects and all that sort of thing, resiliency.
You could, maybe we could add something like Coventry welcomes diversity and supports the wellness and resiliency for all members of the community.
Sure.
Sold.
Good.
Yeah, and it's got recorded, so that was good. Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
All right, so anything else that anyone would like to add to that vision statement? I don't see. Yeah, Lynn.
And this is just something I'm thinking of because it's hurricane season. But do we need something in the vision statement that talks about, I don't know, emergency preparedness? Like
I
that,
think
the town is ready
let's-
for,
Let's hold that idea for a little bit, because I think
okay,
when we get
Is
to
that
the
lower?
goals on natural hazards and climate change.
okay, maybe it's in that.
Um,
section.
20,
Yeah,
Okay.
7.
yeah.
Okay,
Just because when I think of community services and facilities, I think of storm drains that are clogged up during the rain today and that those types of things never seem to get taken care of. But yeah, I do remember something about that in the natural hazards section, so maybe that'll take care of it.
Yeah.
okay, and I'm missing people. Oh, they're down here. Anybody, you guys all good? Any other comments, guys? No? Seeing none, we'll move to the goals. All right, there's a couple of goals here. So we have, the first goal is ensure town departments provide for active and two-way communication with residents and local business owners. Okay. The goal number 13 is repurpose vacant, I'm just gonna read them out and then we can talk about them. Municipality-owned buildings and properties to support town's operations and create new community spaces. Goal 14 is provide adequate funding for infrastructure repair, improvements, and ongoing maintenance needs. Goal 15, maintain the safe and reliable network of facilities, providing care and resources for residents and visitors at all stages of life. Goal 16, provide an effective and sanitary wastewater treatment system that adequately serves Coventry's commercial corridors in environmentally sensitive neighborhoods, and that operates in full compliance with all state and federal standards. Goal 17, manage stormwater runoff and mitigate adverse impacts on receiving waters, including water quality, flooding, and erosion and sedimentation in a manner that is adequate, efficient, and environmentally sensitive. Goal 18, Coventry's municipal waste management program will continue to meet or exceed a 35% recycling rate and 50% diversion rate. So those are the current goals in that section. Anybody have any thoughts to start off the
Question.
conversation?
Question,
Please.
number 12, ensure town departments, do all of these only apply to the town staff and not to the town council?
Well, I would imagine the town council is people that we hired. It wouldn't, Herb, am I wrong? I think it would include the town council as well.
Yeah, I think, well, I would agree. I don't think it should be just limiting to town departments. I think it should be, any elected and appointed officials, because that can bring in, the planning commission, the zoning board, the conservation commission, besides elected officials. It's really kind of the functions of the town in its entirety are what provide for that active two-way communication. So
Yes,
I don't disagree with you at all there.
so I
Should
think we
we
should add
replace
that.
town departments with all town administrations? I don't know how to word it.
I think just
Elected
all town functions provide for ... And then maybe there's a tweaking of that, but
Yeah, to kind of hold everyone accountable.
Right.
I'm trying to think. Ensure there's a provides for an active- Ensure, or you could even do ensure town departments, elected officials and appointed. No, elected seats and appointed seats. I don't know, something to that effect.
Town departments,
Elected boards.
elected and appointed officials,
officials, yep.
elected
Yeah.
and appointed town officials.
Or just, how about just town government?
Or all that serve the town of Coventry.
Say
All
that
that serve-
again. Say that again, Tom.
All that serve the town of Coventry provide for active.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It works.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that does it.
Okay.
So, we got the repurpose. Sorry, I lost my thought. I had a comment to make and I lost it.
Well, maybe it'll come back to you. Was it
I
part of
hope.
that? Was it part of that goal or different?
No, it's moving on. I'm sorry. And I lost it. It literally just went right out the window.
On
So
this,
Sherry,
go ahead.
your 13, I'm actually thinking that 13 belongs with economic prosperity and sustainability. Because it talks about using vacant vacant buildings to support operations. And that kind of goes along with trying to find the right one. It's either like in 5, 6, 7, and 8, or like 5, 6, 7, is reusing buildings as part of economic prosperity, right? We're bringing people into the community, businesses, and we're trying to repurpose vacant municipalities or vacant buildings.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just had a conversation like this last month about repurposing buildings. Is that where 13 goes?
So 13 specifically is getting at, right now, municipal community facilities type of thing that would not be necessarily on the book, on the tax books, right? So it's a little bit separate and apart from the economic development side of things. I'm not saying that
Okay,
good government doesn't bring good economic development, but I think what we're trying to funnel down into specific municipal facilities and stuff.
municipal facilities, not other. Okay, I get it. Yep,
Yep.
that's fine.
I mean, it may warrant that, you know, that not to go backward, but the economic prosperity and sustainability may need to speak about the volume of vacant facilities throughout town and trying to get those repurposed or create some kind of incentive so that instead of building a new building with a vacant thing next door across the street, that there's incentive to get somebody into those vacant spaces. And maybe having said that, Emily will pick up on something like that. So you're muted, Tom.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it could end up being an action in goal 5.
Okay.
All right, I'm good.
Okay.
My only thing with goal 13 is I don't necessarily agree that all municipal vacant buildings should be repurposed for town operations or create new community spaces. I think that we need to figure out which of those facilities we do want to retain and deal with. So it's more of as applicable. And then where it doesn't make sense to hang on to those, we should work on getting those facilities back into the private sector, so maybe they can be put on the tax rolls for something. I think we have a lot of vacant space around that's a town building, a former school building, whatever it might be. And I think that there's some consolidations that could occur.
Well, some of your former school buildings could actually be turned into really nice apartments.
Something like, right. So I don't want to, I just want to make sure that we don't interpret goal 13 as to making an assumption that just because there's a vacant municipal building that we have to repurpose it for municipal or public purposes.
Could we say something at the beginning, such as identify appropriate vacant municipally owned buildings and
Yep.
properties
Yeah, I think that would work
with
better.
which to repurpose or something like that?
Yep, yeah, yep, that's a good tweak.
We produce a study for the town manager of all town-owned properties and buildings, and so that makes me say what it should say is review all town-owned properties and buildings to determine proper use.
Yep. That's great.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, keep going, Sherry.
All right. Do we have, all right, so that was goal number 14, 15. Anything on the rest of these goals? We have 4 more that weren't addressed. Sorry, 5 more. Can't do math.
I'm struggling with how the town does 15. Because what does the town have to do with care and resources for residents in all stages of life? You know, a lot of that's going to be private sector
Mm.
from daycare to senior care to senior housing, which isn't necessarily going to be all town function.
Right, there's a sort of a public-private partnership, because we certainly have our human resources department that offers a lot of, you know, a good chunk of the kinds of things that folks need as they mature through their life. But they also have a lot of resources that they offer for the individuals in how to go find,
Yep.
you know, various kinds of care. So it's, or is it working within a public-private relationship to help maintain and safe that blah, blah?
That may be what.
Yeah, I think that's what's missing.
Okay, so kind of the direction to Emily would be to sort of introduce the concept of a public-private partnership that does carry out this little vision
Yes.
or goal, sorry.
And 16 relies completely on wastewater treatment, but the town's never going to get wastewater treatment in a lot of areas. And so how does the town should also do something to support existing ISDS
Yeah.
functionality?
So do you see that as Bob, as a separate goal to deal with areas that aren't on a sanitary system, a public sanitary system?
Well, we've got, environmentally sensitive neighborhoods that will, for lack of a better term, never be connected to
Right.
sewer system. And so what do you do with those? You need to do something to support ISDSs around those so that those sensitive neighborhoods are maintained.
So since the jurisdiction of the ISDNs resides with DEM, do we put something in there that basically that maybe the town, I'm trying to get at both the protection of lands as well as the the assurance of best management practices, working with DEM on ensuring best management practices for on-site septic systems. But we want to make sure that we're not compromising, invaluable conservation lands or whatever for the sake of on-site septic.
But maybe you need to do something to inspect the functionality in non-sewer environmentally sensitive neighborhoods. And maybe you want to establish some sort of a revolving fund so that the people can actually afford to do the proper maintenance and upgrade of them so that they're properly functioning.
Okay. There's definitely some implementation in there beyond the goal, but
I know,
I hear what you're saying.
Is there
Wasn't-
so-
Oh,
sorry.
no, I'm not going off on a tangent. Sorry, I was gonna ask a question, but that'll lead us another way.
Yep.
Forget it.
Herb, I was
Sorry, Lynn.
wondering, oh, that's okay. In your experience, have there been other municipalities that have ISDS overlay districts, that kind of thing, where a goal could be to the wording would have to be something much more succinct, but identify environmental, identify areas of environmentally sensitive to septic systems and develop a septic system overlay district for.
Right. Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at. I'm used to doing it in the corollary is that the overlays are the areas that you need to protect, like a deer wintering habitat, a bald eagle nesting area or something like that. And those get overlain. Good ones would be like endangered plant species. And in other words, you don't want to touch those. So you're not going to go with Johnny Backhoe out there and make a septic system. So I've worked at it from that standpoint where those overlays come into play. And then they become areas that are, sort of non-touchable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that would be the thought, that maybe there could be something along the lines of that, where even if it's zoned, even if a neighborhood is zoned, 2-acre residential, you still have an overlay district that will prevent the septic systems from impacting groundwater.
Yep,
Things like
exactly.
that.
Yep, exactly. And that's where, to a degree, you and Larry's work can come in handy in terms of the creation of some of the, I'm sure a lot of those overlays already exist, but getting them into a sort of a succinct, easily read, easily seen type of thing as an overlay would be great. And then I have to draft the language around that for zoning and subdivision and or other ordinances. Yep.
What just been through a huge thing with cesspools and cleaning up and so forth. Was that DEM motivated, or was that mostly done through regular Warwick departments?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm too new to Rhode Island.
Lynn, do you know?
I'm sorry, Larry, my dogs were barking. I couldn't hear your question, actually. So they-
Warwick has been doing lots of cleanup of cesspools and bad ISDSs and so forth. They have a big groundwater pollution problem there, and they've been going through a lot of cleanup. And I'm just wondering if that was at the behest of DEM or just whatever the Warwick town did.
I don't know that either, but I would expect it was something to do with the town, because I don't think DEM necessarily is that proactive. Sorry to say.
I know
Well,
that here we're updating our facilities plan for the sewer. There's been a lot of discussion and redoing. We've got a consultant on board, and the idea is to, once we get the information updated, I think the town manager and the council want to start targeting some of the ARPA funds to do to get some of the sewers into our area. And there would be some priorities like getting rid of cesspools and that sort of thing. And I know that plays into the hands of the Conservation Commission, where they want to focus on stormwater, quality water issues. And this, again, the wastewater / ridding of cesspools and stuff plays right into their discussion that they've been having recently.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts before we move on to the next section?
None here.
No? Oh, Bob.
None here.
Okay, hearing none, we're gonna move on to open space and outdoor recreation. Vision statement: Coventry residents commune while walking and biking on Coventry's safe roads and trails and visiting Coventry's parks and recreational facilities. Town pride stems from well-maintained services and facilities, preservation of natural and historic resources, and inclusive community spaces. Coventry community members widely support and participate in community events and culture recreation in a way that strengthens community bonds I can't even talk anymore. Strengthens communities bonds in a sense of place. Sorry, guys. And hold on that thought, because I didn't double check to make sure Julie and didn't have any comments. So let me just double check them. I apologize, running from people's info. I forgot them. So let me just make sure. I've got nothing.
Ann's good.
Yep, and nothing on Anne, and then I just have to find what it.
Yeah, Ann is focused on Western Coventry. So, and I know all of you are. And then the land, I think that the Land Trust has been continuing to do stuff, and I know the Conservation Commission is up and fired up again. So
Yeah,
Yep.
and, so Julie does have, a comment for open spaces and, open space and recreation. Is that what we were just on? No, we're in services and facilities, sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Where are we? Why am I confused?
We're in open space and outdoor recreation.
All right, here we are. Add to goal number 18, improving spaces by not only enhancing information and communication systems, but by enhancing access for all residents. And she said, a goal should be added to rebuild the Parks and Rec Center. Perhaps this is the new Village Center. Research or, no, this is open, she's in open spaces. This is not, this is backwards. Hold on. I'm trying to follow her and where we're at. She said goal number 18. That was, all right, she's just a
Number 18
little,
was up before.
yeah.
18 was waste management.
Yeah, she's got this worded weird.
She might be commenting on the renumbered goals that Emily sent out to some of us, but not to her.
Oh, okay, because I might, okay, because I don't think I have, I didn't see that. So those were her comments. I don't want to disregard her comments, but add to goal 18. This is open space and recreation. That's what she has it listed as.
Right, all the numbers are off by one from what she
Um,
recently set out, so.
So it sounds like, we're-
18 is 18.
So Herb's a day behind. Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sounds like her comment was with regard to goal 19, not 18.
yeah. All right, that makes a little more sense. That definitely makes more sense because I'm looking at it and that.
So what
fit there.
was Julie's comment?
So Julie said, I'm gonna send this to you, Herbs, too, so you have it. She basically said that add to goal number 18, which I believe is 19, improving spaces by not only enhancing information and communication systems, but by enhancing access for all residents.
Yeah.
And,
Sorry, I have her thing right here. Yep.
oh, you do have a copy?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And she said a goal should be added to rebuild the Parks and Rec Center. Perhaps this is in the new Village Center. Research on funding possibilities could be an action under this goal. So does everybody, do we agree that we should add those 2 more goals, or do we? What is everyone else's thought on that?
Well, rebuilding it might be good, but putting it somewhere where it is a true center. I mean, it is in the center of town, but there's limited parking there, especially if you do anything while there's ball games going on.
Hmm. Improve access to country. All right.
Does anyone know if there's been a Parks and Rec study done to assess facilities? And not only the, I'm thinking like capital improvement program type stuff. So that has there been analysis done to assess existing buildings and facilities to determine what's needed?
I have no idea.
Okay. I'll have to ask Raina that, because my sense is that something has been done at least on some facilities. I don't know about the whole facilities. Because I know there's the roof, at least of the building, is supposed to be replaced many moons ago. But monies aren't put toward it, so.
Okay. Guys, I'm gonna mute for 1 second. My son is out and he's calling, so I'm sorry, but I gotta grab his call.
Okay.
I think maybe we could just incorporate her comment into goal 19 by changing the wording a little bit to say improve access to Coventry's open spaces and outdoor recreation facilities for all for the entire community by enhancing information and communication systems.
Yep.
I mean, I got the sense that she wanted to have the statement be more directed at community members.
Yep.
Rather than just sort of this overarching statement. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's access for all residents regardless of age, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know if It's important or not, but the vast majority of open space in Coventry is not owned by the town. I'm wondering if we should point out that we need to collaborate with the owners of most of the open space to provide more, open up more access and so forth.
Mhm. So it's more, so it's like the, I think it's more like the establishment of, it's the establishment of, I totally lost it. I was right on sync with you there, Larry, sorry.
Are you thinking of another collaborative effort between?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that we need sort of like a plan, like a, you know, again, a GIS map that shows what are the important areas that we need to get to, and make the connections to those nodes. And if some of them are, you know, private versus publicly owned, we clearly have to have a plan or a management system that can collaborate with those property owners to obtain easements or other forms of legal instrument to gain access in a respectful fashion.
And even to find out where they are. I mean, knew it existed, but I had never gone and looked at it. But I actually saw the Raven Boulevard public or recreation facility, call it that, but it seems to be just a lot that has no maintenance and no facilities on it, but it's a piece of land tucked on the end of a road. But how many people know it exists other than the little tiny sign that's there that you only run into if you drive down this dead end road?
Right. Yep.
I wonder if we ought to be a little more grandiose and say, why don't we design a townwide trail system using as much of the open space as is feasible?
Yep.
And yeah, because then it's not only connectivity of bike paths, parks and trails, but it's also the open space and outdoor recreation facilities. So you interconnect everything
Yeah.
with,
I like that idea a
Yep.
lot.
because then it becomes a new destination. Hey, we're on the bike path. Let's go check out this today. Let's go check out this Ravenwood Park. Let's go check out, the Green Library.
Yeah,
Use some of this.
design a
these facilities to
townwide
explore.
trail system.
Yeah,
Yeah, what I've been trying to factor into, so I haven't been here long enough, but what I've been trying to factor into development applications is for, obviously it's pretty much any development, but I'm trying to put in a 15-foot wide non-motorized path or trail easement along the edge of the right of way for whatever is being proposed, with the idea that someday we will have a townwide plan for a network of trails and stuff. And if I've got the easements in place, I won't have it across the entire town, but it makes it a lot easier to already have the easement in place than when you try to connect something and you haven't talked to anybody at all or don't have any access from that standpoint. So behind the scenes, I've been trying to initiate that effort.
When I did my analysis of town-owned properties, I found a number of properties, one of them over 15 acres in size, that would be great for a trail system and so forth. It has absolutely no trails on it right now. Another example is the old Peck machine shop property across from Anthony Mill, a block over, which is a beautiful stream on it and everything else. If people are walking there all the time, making their own trails, those kinds of properties need to be reviewed, evaluated, and added to our trail system. We're
Yep.
not doing it.
Right.
And
Right.
and a thought on that is you've got a piece of property with no trails, but at the same time, is that something that could be put up for, a Boy Scout Eagle project to go start some trail systems?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Because, I mean, Elton Jones campus had multiple trails put in by the Boy Scouts.
Yep.
Hmm.
And so why doesn't, and they were from Coventry troops that put them in a West Greenwich piece of property. So why weren't they doing these kind of things in Coventry?
yeah. They do. Occasionally I see them cleaning up cemeteries.
Yeah, but that's an easy one because the guy that focuses on cemeteries is in contact with the Boy Scout leaders, and when they're looking for a project, he'll be like, hey, this one needs a cleanup.
No, you
Yeah.
got, not only do you have your Boy Scouts, you have your junior ROTC programs that are always looking for things, the Young Marines. I mean, I can name off a bunch of, those types that would definitely be able to make it put in a trail system,
So
just
why-
like the Boy Scouts.
all of those are great resources that we can start channeling, and basically it becomes a free trail because, whoever puts it in basically probably foots the bill.
But here's another thought. Why I've been to other states and they have actual big, huge national parks where you go in, you can hike all day long. They charge you like, I don't know, a trail fee of like $7, nothing crazy, you know what I mean? Like just a few dollars. Obviously, local residents are free, I believe are free. It's only for out people from out of the neighborhood that come in. Well, why can't we do something like that? Because that would maintain our trail system.
And at the same time, it could maintain some of the other open spaces and outdoor recreation facilities. I mean, maybe a whatever, any one of those organizations decides to make a project of, oh, we're gonna reseed this ball field this fall. And so suddenly it gets all new grass and turf, and that's a project, and it doesn't cost the town anything, but the town wins.
Yep.
Why,
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't we
you know, the-
change goal 19 to say, develop a plan to do all of that?
For
Well, that's
maintenance
what
and
goal,
upgrade, yeah.
goal 21 does a lot of that.
Yeah.
Goal 21 is getting a lot at what you're getting at, Larry. It's not
Oh,
as
yeah.
specific, but it's getting there. But yeah,
How about a 22 for, looking to advertise the opportunities for organizations to do maintenance, upgrade, and improvement projects on existing town recreation facilities?
Would we want to do another goal though, or would we want that to be an action step under the maintenance or under the enhanced connectivity?
And it-
I would say under the maintenance and enhance a broad range of community-wide and neighborhood recreational facilities to meet the needs and desires of residents. Would it be a goal, not a goal, but an action step to getting to that goal?
I mean, it could be an action step. Do we want to elevate it, or do we want it one level down? That's my.
I don't know. I mean, that's the question, I guess, guys. What do you all think?
the biggest problem in this town is that you've got a bunch of infrastructure. You want a bunch of new infrastructure, but you don't create the funding mechanism to either create it or maintain it. And so I kind of like Bob's idea where you're in these other three goals, you're basically saying, you want to improve the access to open spaces, outdoor recreation, you want to create the trail network, you want a broad range of community facilities for residents. The one thing that really isn't in there is you need the goal to have, it's just like Bob is saying, the opportunities to create, upgrade, and maintain the identified projects that are going to play into this, both from a maintenance standpoint, from I think also from a funding standpoint. That's a little bit beyond what Bob had mentioned, but I think he's sort of getting at, let's find ways to do this, but do it at the least cost, or, not necessarily least cost, but in a way that we can minimize public cost to such project or projects.
Yep, I think you captured it.
I think you got it perfect.
Okay. There you go, Emily.
I've got one other thought. If this is appropriate time about open space.
Yep.
So we mentioned these, like, a lot of private landholders might have, the desire to deed an easement or something to the town. And that's the way the land trust is operating now, to get a lot of, or some open space recreation facilities via deeded easements, or I don't forget what they, conservation easements or whatever. So my idea here is to have a goal or an action item, I don't know which one it would be, for the town to, I don't know, support the land trust in communicating to the public the availability of conservation easements or something like that. Again, I'm struggling with the wording, but we basically, if we can get the residents who are, old timers who have lots of space, or, owners of agricultural group, the farmers and whatnot, to make sure that they know about the opportunities that the town might be able to provide in terms of, providing these conservation type easements where that would enable us to get a lot more land.
Yep.
But we don't have any money,
agree.
we
You
don't
have
have
to be-
money to buy it, but it gives the homeowner or the landowner a tax deduction, I believe. So,
Yeah, the farmers you have to be super sensitive with, because usually their retirement is built into their land.
mhm.
So if you just, I think it's great to provide them opportunity to either have it get into a land trust or what have you, but I think in many instances, the reason why they sell off their stuff is because that's their retirement and they want the fair share for their retirement. And so if there are, I agree with you, where there are things that we can put in place that can be the equivalent of that, or a portion of the equivalent of that, those are good things to do. But that's why Western Coventry has gone the way, or is going the way that it is that people want the fair share for the land that's been worked in their families or whatever. I mean, that's a little bit a while ago, but that's where I came from in Vermont. That's what's happening to all the farms up in Vermont. They
Yeah, they
can't-
got
Yep.
pieced apart. Okay, so we're gonna add another goal then, correct, Herb?
Yep.
Okay,
I think the goal that we're talking about could weave what I had talked about, that was kind of Bob's idea, but could also hopefully factor in Lynn's stuff. If it has to be a separate goal, so be it. But I think the couple things that we talked about could be factored in as one goal.
Yep,
okay.
thank you.
Great.
All right, moving on. Any other comments, questions, or thoughts? Somebody was speaking. Larry, was that you? No?
You
Okay.
you made me think, we don't have anything about encouraging preservation restriction, especially in Western Coventry. Shouldn't that be one of our goals to, there are state programs to buy land to produce preservation restrictions, APR and otherwise.
So would it go there or would it go in natural resources in the next? Herb,
Good question.
because that's the only
Honestly,
reason I didn't bring it up.
Honestly, I would put it down a level. If your goal is to protect the, lack of better words, the integrity of the Western Coventry due to its natural resource and open space continuing potential. There are some lands that you're probably going to want to preserve. as a result of that, and there are different programs that you'll want to try to capitalize on, if not, straight outright purchases by the town. But there's usually, as Larry said, there's either nonprofits that are out there that have a funding source, or they're connected with a I can't even say it tonight, philanthropic sources of funding that will do that sort of thing, besides what Lynn would talked about a couple minutes ago, which is someone that owns the land already and is willing to do things to protect the property by giving it to a land trust or something like that. So the Lynn and Larry's ideas kind of go together in terms of, but specific to Western Coventry is going to keep going the way that it is unless the town does some stuff that is literally going to preserve property without creating a taking.
Mhm.
And, because right now, those 3 goals that we have for open space have nothing about creating new open spaces or preserving any open spaces.
Okay, so you feel that that's a step down, it would be a goal as opposed to, I'm not a goal, an action as opposed to a goal.
Yeah, I think if there's anything I've heard since I've been involved with planning here, it's protect Western Coventry, and it's where you can, it's open spaces and all that. You've got, in these goals and a couple other goals, you've got the schmaltzy language to do that, but I haven't seen anything so far that says that we need to do something for Western Coventry specifically. It's sort of, all the goals have been kind of like broad town-based type stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but I do know that everything I've heard and so far in planning has been this protection of Western Coventry, or people that are ticked that some developments occurring in Western Coventry. So
Okay,
maybe you need to be a little specific in a goal specific to Western Coventry.
okay, and the open space and outdoor recreation. I was thinking it would go under the natural resources, because that's basically what we're preserving, is the natural resources in this area that we want to keep for agricultural and keep forested. And so am I incorrect in my thought process? Should the goal be bounced up? You think it should go up one?
There are different areas that Western Coventry can go into in terms of what you have in front of you. It can go into open space and outdoor recreation. There are, if it's preservation of agricultural spaces or other important open spaces, there are different areas to deal with it, like here, or if it's an important natural resource area, such as a wetland or something along those lines. It might go under open space, but maybe it's better suited under natural resources, something along those lines. So I don't think that there's any real right or wrong place to put it. It's that, I'll say it this way, the statute defines that you have to have certain chapters with certain titles on them, like open space and outdoor recreation. So if, in order to focus some attention on Western Coventry, is there a goal that should go under open space and outdoor recreation as a, for lack of a better term, a mandated title, right? That's kind of the way I would ask the question, or regurgitate it back to you.
So honestly, then I think we should try to look at some verbiage to put in something to preserve and protect, obviously, the open space and the outdoor recreation. But we do want to do that. We want to do that around the whole town as well. I mean, yes, I'm partial to green and Western because I live here. But I also want to make sure that we're protecting it throughout all of the town. So maybe the goal is how can I word it? Maybe the goal is actually preserving and protecting the current open spaces, and outdoor recreation areas. I can't, off the fly, I'm not coming up with something that sounds.
So my suggestion is maybe there needs to be a goal created under the land use section, because usually the land use section is all encompassing of many of the different, all of these things sort of taken together. For, you know, existing land use and future land use, or another option besides doing a separate goal under land use is maybe you give Western Coventry a little special treatment, and you kind of give it its own categorical title. So instead of, but in addition to say open space and recreation and transportation, economic prosperity and all that, you have one that's called Western Coventry. And then you have a couple goals under that specific to Western Coventry.
I actually like that a lot. I think that'd go a long way with the people in Western. I mean, what are you guys thinking on that, Bob? I mean, I think that addresses a lot right there. We have our own little section. I think it'd make people feel good because they can say, well, we have our section and this is what the town's going to do to protect us going forward. What are you guys thinking?
It's getting late.
I know. Everybody's a vertigo.
The first thought that comes to mind for me is, I guess more of a like, okay, well, what do you define as Western Coventry? Where does it begin?
Yep.
I think if we want to section it out like that, we'd have to have some sort of delineation for it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's, you know, I don't,
Maybe that's too big of a fight for tonight at 7:30
Yeah.
or at 8 o'clock, right? So,
Yeah,
But
but maybe,
so
it's
at least-
definitely- I would definitely support the idea of having it. I just would think that we need to have some sort of definition of what Western Coventry is.
okay. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe it's a
Mapland.
maybe it's a suggestion that Emily, in creating the next public workshop, could craft at least some section of the next thing to help get at that, to have some separate discussion about Western Coventry and its future, what should be its future, what is it in terms of its definition, and what might be some specific goals and vision for that area.
I mean, one quick delineation, and I'm not saying it's the answer, is to use the existing RR5 zone as defined by zoning as Western Coventry. I don't think it's perfect, but it's definitely something that's a start of a delineation.
Or, yep,
Another definition might be everything west of Front River Reservoir,
say that again, Larry.
everything west of Flat River Reservoir, Johnson's Pond.
All right, so we're going to look into talking with Emily about possibly doing a section for Western specifically.
And
With
if
that being said, do we still want a goal in here though for Western Coventry in the open spaces? And let's try to move quick, guys. Do you think we should put at least one goal in there in open spaces and outdoor recreation that says,
Maybe we protect or goal of to protect and expand the open spaces and recreational facilities in the town. And
I like that.
and maybe it's not just open space, because open space kind of, you got to define that one, but maybe it's undeveloped land rather than open space.
Yeah, or open space, undeveloped land in outdoor recreation, just to make sure that they get the, not clear cut our forest on us. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I think Emily will, can get a start on that, or that I think that's enough leadership by you folks for her to know that she probably needs to have a goal or two in the respective sections, whether it's land use and open space or just open space, whatever it might be. Just that I know it's a big bite to take on at this time of the night, but maybe she can take your stuff and at least get a draft going again because you're going to have another, obviously, opportunity as things come out.
Yep. Yeah, and we're almost there, guys. So we've got a lot to cover though in a half hour. So
Yep.
if everybody's good, if we can move on to natural resources. So the vision statement is Coventry is a green community. Local policy and regulations protect the natural environment and foster economic growth without jeopardizing natural resources. Rather, economic growth serves to protect and repair our natural environment. So then we have the two goals: protect and restore Coventry's water resources and improve water quality. Coventry's natural resource areas, including wetlands, wildlife habitat, surface water, and groundwater shall be well stewarded and preserved for future generations. I'm gonna check Julie's notes on that. And does anybody want to start the conversation?
This is Tom. I would swap restore and protect. I would
Okay,
say restore and protect Coventry's, because we need to restore before we can protect them.
okay.
Just my thought.
All right. Any other thoughts on those goals?
Well, the
What is
term and the second
stewardship?
goal, sorry, I'm speaking over someone. I'll shut up.
Oh, just one more thing, Bob. What is, so I'm in goal 23, stewarded? What is that? It just, that
Stewarding is a
seems
form
really-
of taking care of, you steward property. In other words, you're the caretaker for the particular property.
right, I've just never seen steward, Ted.
Yeah, no, I haven't either.
Be the steward of, or, but
Right,
not stewarded. It's just awkward.
Agriculture.
Right.
Good stewards of agricultural land, make sure that the soil is taken well care of.
so
Yeah,
groundwater
be
shall be, Coventry's natural resources, including wetlands, wetlands and groundwater. I think it should be like this, the town shall help steward and preserve Coventry's natural resource areas, including wetlands, wildlife habitat, surface water and groundwater for future generations.
There you go.
Yes.
Gold.
Perfect.
The usual phrase is good stewards. The town will be good stewards.
Yep, fair enough.
And I'm just struggling with a nebulous term of wildlife habitat, because that could be anything from the little spot of grass in my backyard where rabbits are growing. And so in terms of defining that, you've got larger subdivisions that are aiming at large undeveloped pieces of property, and there's arguments on whether that's a wildlife habitat or not, but this is kind of a nebulous term until you define it.
Yeah, it's in the DEM world, and what I'm used to, the Agency of Natural Resources in Vermont, these are pretty common terms, and they usually have pretty well delineated areas to define those. But under like wildlife habitat, where it gets serious is when they hit the threatened or endangered species, flora, fauna, for the wildlife habitat type of stuff, and especially if you get into a network of habitat. So not necessarily not just one little area, but how is that one little area connected to the larger community habitat? But I don't disagree. What defining and definitions and all that is important.
And there was a section in the land use that talked about the open spaces, and I forget the other term right now. I'm trying to look for it, but it was pathways, or I'm not necessarily the right term.
Corridors.
Corridors, that's the term. And so is it, wildlife habitat and wildlife corridors maybe?
Yep.
And maybe that ties the whole document together a little bit by using the same terminology.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes from the last meeting that we need some kind of a glossary somewhere, whether it's an appendix or something, but just to help guide the reader, should they really want to get into it in terms of what is meant by that. Not to get into wordsmithing, but at least having some general definitional language for a common denominator of understanding.
And so maybe, maybe it's even not wildlife or wildlife habitats, but maybe we use the two terms that they use, which is contiguous undeveloped property and wildlife corridors or something, so that we're clear that these areas that are defined on this maps are the areas we want to really focus on.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
But
Julie
in-
didn't, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Sorry, in 22, recognizing that we've already adjusted it somewhat, could we maybe throw in something to say groundwater specifically as well? So restore and protect Coventry's surface and groundwater. Because I think a lot of times when we think of water resources, we only think what we can see, the lakes and the ponds. But obviously, because a lot of people are on wells,
Yep.
we should emphasize groundwater somewhere in that goal. Or not emphasize it, but include specifically groundwater.
Yep. Julie,
Get
just
down.
so you know, Julie had she has more of an implementation thing that's basically talking about creating an aquifer and watershed protection district.
Hmm.
Great
Okay,
idea.
yeah,
Okay. Julie doesn't have anything till we get to cultural and historic, so I just checked her. Are we, any other comments for? Any other comments for this section for these schools? Yes, no, maybe. I don't hear any.
Nope.
Okay, so we'll move on. I'll read Julie's comments quick so that I can get back to my other screen and actually see where we're at. For cultural and historic, she said, idea, create a QR code system of points of interest throughout all the villages with signs up at points throughout the village so persons can just scan and learn all the history or learn about tours and or walking trails. This could be combined with a brochure or something to create tourism package, which could somehow lead to a funding stream for stewardship of the historic assets. So that is,
Perfect.
I think that's
It's an
actually
it's an
really,
action.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's an action.
Yep.
It should support one of the goals.
okay.
It's a great idea. Very necessary.
It's an
Yeah,
excellent idea. It's an excellent way to set it up.
it's fantastic. I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen the webpage for the new glamping facility that's being proposed out on 117 or 14 by the Connecticut border. But they talk about distances to all these different historical and cultural areas right in their webpage. So they're already promoting what you can do while you're out glamping.
Would be historical commission to work with them on using the resources Len and I have set up to develop driving tours, walking tours, and so forth for various villages and so forth. We're just getting started.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, and while the brochure is a great idea, a webpage might be better because it can be much more dynamic.
Mhm.
What might mention here, Lynn has come up with a suggestion because ArcInfo has a lot of great facilities for doing what are called story maps, in which you can have a story for a particular area and show all kinds of videos and pictures and everything else like that, all of this online and so forth. So those are the directions we're going in with the commission. So there's a lot of technology there that's now available that can really make this a fun thing to visit and use.
Yes.
We just
Great.
need to find out a little bit more about our Esri license or, but at least we have one now.
We just downloaded the stuff today. Cody was working on it about 2 hours ago. And I said, okay, great, keep doing it, but I got to focus on my meeting tonight. So we've got the ArcGIS workstation uses, two licenses.
Okay, great. Well, certainly it's not relevant to the discussion, but please feel free to call on me if there's anything I can do to help with the setup or troubleshooting or anything.
Great. Yeah, might be some training.
Yeah, I can do that too. I've got a lot of that experience.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so the cultural and historic resources, basically the vision statement, we kind of went over it quickly. Coventry celebrates its cultural and historic heritage through preservation programs, cultural tourism, and public education. We kind of already looked at the goals. Coventry's cultural and historic resources shall be drivers of education, recreation, and economic development opportunities for residents and visitors. Coventry leaders collaborate with neighboring municipalities to celebrate and support the Native American communities, ideas, and cultures that thrive in Western Rhode Island. Any thoughts on anything else to be added to that section before we move forward?
Sherry, I hate to do this late. Have we resolved the village issue? Because this is the perfect spot for village, and goal 25 singles out Native American communities without singling out any of the historic villages or other communities that might be here, instead of just, I mean, I recognize Native Americans, but I hate to give up the village without a fight. I mean, I live in Anthony. I don't know, where did we go with that? Is that still up in the air? Is it an open item?
So I believe with the villages, they were just looking at the wording of it. I do believe we're still going to have, they were debating on whether it'd be villages or centers. If I do recall that conversation correctly.
So where we're headed on that is that the idea, again, that's where the situation of glossary and what do we mean, and specifically what words do we want to do. And there is some information that I did forward to Emily. The Office of Statewide Planning has a whole web page on growth centers and those various terms that you hear. So I think she'll better focus on that. And then the specific to goal 25, I'm the impetus for that. It's really only encompasses about half of what the intended purpose is, to have like it's Norma Smith and some other person's ideas where it's a Blackstone Valley. I don't know what you call it, but it's a tourism type of stuff where you weave together Native American culture and history with colonial, and then I'm drawing a blank on the other one that's in there, but it's sort of looking at the history from the standpoint of the major it's a faceted look, and then capitalizing on each of those to create kind of this cultural path or travel and tourism destination in a couple different areas. So like we said earlier, there was something earlier that I think it was Julie had something about putting out QR codes and all that sort of thing in certain areas. Again, that's
Yeah.
sort of that interlinking of the trail network, of capitalizing our cultural and historic resources, and then trying to put an economic development slant to it, that gives something to many different areas of the town of Coventry, some destination points. So it isn't just Nathaniel Green's homestead. It isn't just the village where Anthony Mill is. It isn't just the Native American tribes that were here well before us. And it clearly weaves in the slavery aspect of things as well. Because many of the Native Americans were slaves at the same time as the African
Herb,
community. Yes.
Herb, who in a small town, what department or in the town usually manages and develops tourism?
So that it can differ. Many communities will say have their own little chamber of commerce or an economic development committee, and then they would partner with a larger group such as the regional chamber. In this area, we have the I don't know if it's called the Blackstone Travel and Tourism Council or what have you, but there is a travel council that there's a huge linkage that can occur between like East Greenwich or West, I can't remember where it is, but there's already an established trail up through like most of Rhode Island and everything. And the great thing about the Western secondary bike trail is it gives you that east-west corridor beyond the north-south one that goes over, I think it's over in East Greenwich or Western, whatever, I have to get my geography right, but the West Warwick type of thing. So there's a whole bunch of history that the Travel Council is aware of. There's also some Native American communities that say are affiliated with, what is it, Black Rock? And so there's a lot of culture. So again, the whole, I know I'm babbling here, but the idea was that there's this connectivity that can occur at many different levels that deals with economic development, and the locally, that can be the Economic Development Committee. It could be an appointed group of people, could be a local chamber. If we don't have the resources here, oftentimes it's done in a regional environment. I'm used to regional planning commissions in the state of Rhode Island. It's the Office of Statewide Planning serves as the regional planning commission, but you've also got some regional travel and tourism areas.
Do we have a goal to encourage tourism in the town? Is that a goal somewhere that I've missed?
We did mention it in the last section with the trails, but we don't have a goal. Was
Goal
mentioned.
number 7, capitalize on historic cultural assets to drive tourism and economic development.
Yep.
Goal number 7.
Oh, all
Okay.
right, way up at the top. Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay,
So-
sorry.
So I'm sorry I brought it up, but until West Warwick changes their definition of Natick, Arctic, and Phoenix, I'm gonna still harp on this, so we'll leave it. at
No
that.
worries.
Thank you.
Yep. No, but
All right.
I think that's important information, Tom, to have in there. And I agree with you that there is some definitional stuff that has to occur along with things to delineate as well.
All right.
Okay.
And
Next,
Goal 25 can easily slide into a policy or something like that. I mean, because there is an implementation idea that's there. And I think what Emily's trying to do is just elevate what was provided to her to a higher level. But it sort of loses that trifacet perspective by doing that.
so are we thinking that we want to remove that goal or just kind of change it up a little bit? What do you think? What are we thinking?
Well, I think either it needs to at least be changed a little bit to sort of better reflect a little bit better of the history of Coventry, so that, because I agree with Tom that when the average lay person is going to read this, they're going to be focused on the indigenous, tribes or whatever, rather than the addition of the colonial aspect of things, the slave trade, the Native American timeframe, and then it's probably whatever it is, industrial age. From that standpoint. So that's a little bit what's lost. And then, but we could combine, I do think it's important to bring in the notion of the village centers, at least the value of the cultural and historicness that those brought to Coventry, and why we have certain settlements where they are today, or even why we have roadways in their locations, that sort of thing.
Okay. Anybody else have?
I think we just got to have Emily do some wordsmith on that a little bit. And, Emily, if you're listening, maybe you and I can collaborate and we can try to gather some of those.
Okay.
It could also potentially be worked into goal 24 with the statements like Coventry's cultural and historical resources, including recognition of its village centers or whatever shall be drivers. So maybe we could work the villages into that preceding goal somehow.
Yep.
Thought.
It's a good thought.
Yeah, no, that is. All right, anybody else on those two goals?
No.
No, I don't see anybody. Or am I missing anyone? Bob, you good?
I'm good.
All right, moving on. Natural hazards and climate change. You guys want me to read the statement, or are we good? You just want to dive in?
Let's dive in, save you the reading.
All right, works for me. All right, guys, what are your thoughts on this section here, hazard and climate change? I do believe, Lynn, wasn't it you that had mentioned something about emergency preparedness?
Yeah.
Because I think this would be the section.
I did previously, yeah. Just to make sure that there's something in there that makes it certain that the town is thoughtful about being prepared for natural and man-made disasters, fires, flood,
Well,
etc.
yeah, so goal 27, the town is proactive in reducing vulnerability and increasing resilience to natural hazards and climate change. I mean, we could add something, we could add to that goal there, or we could give it its own goal if you think it needs its own.
No, I think you're right. I think goal 27 could be reworded a little bit to say the town is proactive in preparing for and reducing vulnerability and increasing resilience to natural hazards, natural and man-made hazards and climate change. Some of the stuff
Something to that
we do
effect.
ourselves.
That was good.
I like that. I think that would definitely work.
Okay.
Anybody, any other thoughts on that? I'm sorry, Lynn, did I cut you off?
No, I was just happy that people thought it was okay.
No, you did a great job. Great. Any other comments or thoughts on those goals in that section?
Sherry, this is Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Somewhere in one of these goals, maybe 26, in the second line where it says other natural features, could we mention the word dam somewhere?
Yeah, I
Do you
don't
think that's
see.
worthwhile. I mean, we got Johnson's Pond Dam, we've got a Tioga Lake Dam that needs work. There's a dam on Upper Dam Pond, Middle Dam Pond. So it says other natural features that provide protection from storms and flooding. But these dams are man-made, they're not natural to provide protection from storms and flooding.
Okay, so do we think that should have its own goal? Make it a goal 28 that basically says that Coventry will maintain and monitor. I don't know. I'm not
No,
good.
no, I
I'm
think-
gonna be honest, I'm not good with this.
I think we could just add and other natural and man-made features,
Perfect.
Okay,
which
Yep,
would
that'll
include
cover
dams.
Yeah, that'll cover it.
And it maybe falls into more than that if you get into retention ponds and other things.
True.
Sure,
Yep,
yeah,
up there.
absolutely.
yep, herring runs or whatever, fish ladders, yeah, whatever the case may be. Yeah,
okay.
Well,
very
could
good.
we include also, so Coventry's land use regulations guide development and maintenance? I guess,
Oh,
Right?
Yeah,
yes.
that's a good idea.
because there's so many of these stormwater retention ponds that don't even collect water anymore because they're so filled in with crap. Sorry for my language, but
That's
No,
true.
I totally agree, and I think, and make sure to
Need to
come
be-
back to that when we get into the implementation techniques, because there's all kinds of best management techniques that should be identified or just in general that need to be done, but absolutely, I mean, it's a big, huge one. You know, we were all required by EPA a while ago to make all these things, but we haven't gotten back to doing the annual or the decennial maintenance of them.
And within our land use regulations, there's something I've been noticing, and I don't know if anybody else has. You take and put in, new houses and new developments, and to meet the stormwater requirements, there's a lot of gravel driveways and rock driveways put in. And 5 years down the way, they're paved, and that's changes the whole water flow structure and moves water in directions that wasn't intended.
Yep.
Do they not? Oh, you don't need a permit to pave your driveway.
No. When the subdivision was, or whatever, was approved because, okay, the design was such that it was all permeable surface and no water was going to exit the area. And suddenly it's no longer permeable surfaces, and now we've got a new problem.
Yep, that's a good one. Now we've got the handle when it comes to an HO, if it's in an HOA, homeowners association type of thing. But some of these developments that are sort of just, five lot subdivision, they do their thing, and you're totally right, Bob. They'll come in and pave it. But they're not going back and redoing their erosion and sediment control plan.
Are we, so when we're, probably a conversation for another day, but I'm gonna throw it out there, but when these things are getting approved, shouldn't there be deed restrictions or something saying that those surfaces need to stay permeable? I mean, is that something that can be done?
Yeah, well, welcome to my world.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll get out of your world and we'll get back to what we're doing. We'll have that discussion another day.
Right, there's only so much I can do from mid-April to today, right? So those are the kind of things that, I gotta get in place, right? And we gotta do a better job of making sure that there's a tracking system, so to speak. It's the hardest thing to do, is that once something goes through, no one's going back and, going and checking out a parcel 5 years later to see if they've done something or what have you. And once it changes hands, people don't know. They're just buying what they have and they think they can do anything they want with it. And I don't have the staff to go checking out every single deed every single year to see if someone had to do this or that, but maybe there should be some kind of a log put together, that can be linked with Larry and Lynn's idea of an overall GIS system, and we can, those things can pop up on a map as to, just automatically pop up to say, oh, it's been a year. These are the areas that need to go clean out their stormwater detention basin, and here they are. And have a contact name in the database for the homeowners association manager or president. So that's all that, this new artificial intelligence stuff that's really kind of cool, that's coming down the road or is already here.
Yep.
Okay. Bob, were you gonna say something?
No, I think I'm done.
Okay, Any other thoughts or comments on that section? We've got literally 7 minutes, guys, so
This is the
No.
last section.
last section, can we get it done in 7 minutes, guys?
I'll leave
Yeah.
one last thought on fire protection and whether right now there's not a lot, whole western end of Coventry has no hydrants. And it's not only, Western Coventry Fire District, it's half a central, but the requirements for putting in cistern fire protection is dumped back on the fire departments as to approve what they want. And what came to light recently after some of us did some work is that the Western Coventry was demanding a 10,000 gallon cistern that does nothing for the people's fire insurance ratings. Because the insurance companies don't recognize anything less than 30,000 gallons. And they treat 30,000 gallons like a hydrant, and suddenly your insurance goes down. But we're making these subdivisions put in 10,000 gallons, and it's nothing but a fancy little piece of show that doesn't do anybody any good.
Yep. I'd like to, if, chat with you offline about that a little bit, Bob, to see
Feel
what,
free.
yeah, what we could do, because including like dry hydrants and stuff, if those have an effect and that sort of thing.
But this whole end of town needs something. Just
Okay.
Take it from someone that's had a fire and knows all about it.
Yep. No,
But
I'd
anyway,
be,
let's
I'd be
move on.
be curious to let you pick my brain and how we might be able to improve that. And maybe there's some grant funding or something out there.
Yep, let's go.
Okay.
Next.
Thank you.
Okay. So energy and renewable energy. Thoughts, comments, current achievement of vehicles, equipment will be energy efficient and be operated in a way that conserves energy resources. Okay, but that takes money. We should look at changing over the existing lights that we have in town as well. It should be something about changing over the power to the solar, because the solar lights, street lights, I know they're expensive, but what they'd save the town in the long run would be well worth it, especially down in the eastern side.
Well, those are paid for by the fire districts. They're not paid for by the town. The fire
Oh,
districts
really?
are the lighting districts, and 2 of the fire districts have already gone to LEDs in recent years, and it's discussed in one of the chapters.
Yep.
Okay.
Considered equipment
Energy audit,
in Goal
lots
28.
of companies do them, and it's possible to get government funds to actually help do, especially with the new bill that was just passed to help do energy audits. So what I'm doing one right now for my daughter's farm in Massachusetts.
Yeah, but maybe it's not only energy efficient, but also, using resources such as, roof or ground mounted solar panels, just non-fossil fuel energy sources.
Yep.
Mhm. Which, go ahead, Lynn.
No, you go ahead. You keep ceding to me.
I get cut off or-
Honestly, I lost it, so you go ahead
Okay.
first.
So I wanted to throw out a suggestion for the vision statement to say that country's leader, yada, yada, it implements and educates its residents about innovative energy initiatives. Because the average person probably isn't really aware of what's out there. So I think it could fall upon the town to be a leader, right, in helping educate the residents here about what those innovative energy initiatives are. And so that would just be a suggestion for the vision statement.
I think that's great. And then implementation at some point would be to have an energy committee in town. Those things that I've worked with a couple of them, and if you get the right people, they do some amazing things.
Because it's really a quagmire. When I was doing work on the house to restore it, trying to figure out what energy rebates there were and what other energy incentives there were. It was a quagmire.
Yep.
All right, any other comments or thoughts or goals that we should add to this section?
Can I simplify 29 a bit? So
Yes,
it's awful wordy. It says create a pool of residents who are knowledgeable about the potential for. Could you just say create community expertise in personal green energy consumption?
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Community expertise instead of a pool of residents who are knowledgeable.
yeah, no, I like that wording. That works.
Yep.
I learned it the hard way, and I'm more than happy to share some of that.
All right, are we
Be
good?
careful what you
I-
volunteer
Larry,
for,
you're gonna
Bob.
run all the meetings now. You held us to 2 hours. Amazing job.
I don't know how I managed, but thank you guys for being so cooperative. It was a
Oh.
great meeting.
Yeah.
Until we meet again.
Great. All right. So I pay attention to the calendar, whatever it is for our next meeting from that standpoint. Otherwise, I'm sure some emails and stuff will come from Emily shortly. And then don't forget the public meeting in the middle of October, whenever that is. And I've got your various emails and stuff with regard to suggestions and all that. I'm working with the post office on trying to do a postcard mailer, and a special thanks to Lynn. She made an amazing artwork or whatever it is for the postcard. And I was talking with Emily, and somehow we're going to weave that design into the cover page or somehow into the town plan. So thank you, Lynn. Big-
Awesome.
Of course,
Yeah.
happy to do it. And I've got a draft of the 8.5 by 11 one, close to being ready for you too. So I'll give you,
Okay.
I'll give you new ones of both the postcard and the 8.5 by 11 shortly.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Can't wait to see it so we can get it on social media.
Yeah. All right,
Larry,
we'll see you
Larry,
guys.
you're muted. Did you have something to say, Larry? You were muted.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, Herb, are you using EDDM to send the card?
That's one thought that we're dealing with. Yeah, I mean, my original thing was if we had a bulk permit, which we don't, and then it was a postal patron, and now I'm considered old because of the EDDM. So I just learned something today, right? We don't use postal patron anymore.
I've done EDDM a couple of times, and I can help put together bundling everything so that it's properly usable for EDDM.
Okay, great. Yeah, I freaked out the Coventry supervisor today at the post office because I said, just how many pieces do I need to make a copy of? And he was like, he freaked out. So I get to do you can figure that out up on the web page for the EDM. So
No, I have taken everything off of their webpage and put it into a layer, and I have all the totals for every single EDDM zone, and I can tell you exactly how many pieces you need and how they're divided.
awesome. Thank you.
I can send you a map of that.
That'd be great. I appreciate that. Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
All right,
all right. Have
I'm
a great night,
stopping.
everyone.
stopping
Thank you.
recording.
Thank you.